In the story of progress, every chapter of development adds depth, richness, and meaning to our collective narrative. From the smallest steps to the grandest strides, every act of development paves the way for a brighter tomorrow. Welcome to the Development Report on People's 105.5 FM, where we'll talk about pressing issues surrounding sustainable development. I'm all about everything development, from women's empowerment to children's rights, water resources, energy, food waste, climate change, waste management, and more. I am Ife Onyekwere, and together we'll be coming close to our common good as a nation as we look into community-led initiatives for climate action today. And I won't be doing this alone because I have an amazing guest in the studio. I have Dr. Edwin Orugbo, who is the Executive Director, Society for Planet and Prosperity, an NGO making waves in the environmental space. He's also he's actually a PhD student of Environmental Resources Management. Good afternoon, sir, and how are you doing today?
Good afternoon. I'm doing very great.
Okay, great to have you here today. You're looking all bright.
Thank you very much. I love it here too.
I think the atmosphere, the climate, environment should be shining the way you're looking today.
Yes, we have a clement environment today. As I was coming, the weather was very good.
Amazing. All right. So we're going to be discussing community-led initiatives for climate action. And talking about climate action, we're discussing setting the pace for for us, every one of us, you listening, and also for us in the studio, about our efforts, the efforts we actually take to address the causes and the effects of climate change. And we're going to be looking at the possibilities of how effective climate action will be if we address it on the basis of community engagement. And so if you're listening, you can join the conversation on social media. We are at People's 105.5 FM. And on telephone, you can call in on 0911 222 1055. And on WhatsApp, you can send your message, contributions, and questions to 0911 112 1055. And you can follow me on Twitter at TDEV Reports. I also have an amazing producer, my producer in the studio. Can you say hi to us?
It's another day to carry on the program.
I actually like disturbing my producer, but then, well, whether he likes it or not, he's part of the climate discussions, right? So we are all part of this. So straight up, we'll be taking some very brief news on development stories. And when we come back, we're going to be having the discussion with our guest.
Hensard University, Nigeria is a private leading university established in the year 2023 and approved by the National Universities Commission. Hensard University is located at Sagbama Local Government Area in Bayelsa State. Hensard University runs academic courses in agriculture, science and computing, environmental sciences, mass communication, arts, social and management sciences. Come to Hensard University today and unlock your global potentials. For inquiries, please call 0916 998 5150 or 0916 998 5153. Email is registrar@hensarduniversity.edu.ng. Website is www.hensarduniversity.edu.ng. Admission is open to both Nigerian and international students. Hensard University. Service to man is service to God.
People's 105.5 FM presents Rising to Stardom. Are you an upcoming contemporary or gospel artist and you want to get your music or song heard on radio and all online streaming platforms? Then here is your opportunity to rise to stardom. Send your song to the email risingtostardom105@gmail.com or visit our studio, People's 105.5 FM, number 4 Ordinia Close off Libreville Street, Wuse 2, Abuja, for possible airplay of your song. And guess what? You could be the next rated artist rising to become the next superstar. Call us on 070-4700-1055. People's 105.5 FM. It's all about you.
Red calls for urgent action as flooding devastates communities. NEDC distributes 200,000 bags of rice to flood victims in Northeast. USAID approves $6.5 million to address flood crisis. The Rebuild Arewa Initiative for Development RAID has described the recent flooding in Maiduguri of Borno State as a devastating blow to communities already struggling from the effects of insurgency. The organization's Director of Strategic Communication, Comrade Bitako Abubakar Umar, urged neighboring villages and states to take proactive measures to mitigate future floods, while calling on intervention from humanitarian agencies and international bodies to assist those affected. He also stressed the need for long-term solutions, particularly with Cameroon set to open the Lado Dam, which could worsen the situation. The Northeast Development Commission, NEDC, has released 200,000 bags of rice to flood victims in Northeast states. Managing Director of the Commission, Mohammed Al-Khali, said this is to mitigate the impact of the flood disaster on victims. He says due to the current massive flooding in Maiduguri caused by the breakdown, greater percentage of the allocation will go to Maiduguri, the Borno State capital. The United States, through USAID, is providing over $6.5 million to the International Organization for Migration, IOM, to tackle flood-related humanitarian needs in Nigeria. According to the USAID, this funding is part of their 2024 support, with $3 million allocated to addressing the crisis caused by flooding, which has affected 29 states in Nigeria. USAID Mission Director Melissa Jones reassured the United States' commitment to helping Nigeria face climate challenges and natural disasters. And that's it on the development news segment. All right, talking about remember, we actually have a guest in the studio, and then I want him to react to the second news we talked about right now. The Northeast Development Commission releasing bags of rice to flood victims in the Northeast, and talking about this as a mitigation strategy. So how would you categorize this mitigation response from the Northeast Development Commission? Is this what should be done? Is it talking about mitigation? I think things, to actually prevent, stuff like this. But now that it has happened, is this the best solution? Because there have been lots of talks around, the bags of rice and all like that. How would you link it to what's the case of the flooding in the Northeast?
Well, I think this is too little, too late. I would expect that what should have been done is preventive measures. Before now, there should be flood mitigation measures, proper drainage systems and all that to take care of too much water coming on areas where previously there was no water. That's what we actually call flooding. What they have done, even though it's a good idea to help people adapt to the critical situation they are in right now, I think it's not what we should be doing as a country. And there's this thing about the Lagdo Dam you said something about during the news. This imbroglio between Cameroon and Nigeria over the Lagdo Dam has been on for such a long time. I think we should find a permanent solution to that problem, because once that dam is opened again, the waters will come again in their torrents, and then this time it will go as far as the Niger Delta, where it will cause even greater damage.
I think this is the same cause why, because sometime last year or 2 years ago, where there was so much flood in Lokoja area of Nigeria, this is the same reason, because we're hearing of the news of Cameroon opening their dam, right? Yeah. So now, does it mean efforts have not been made to actually prevent such from happening? Because we saw people moving out of their houses, some houses were covered and all like that.
We cannot see, as far as I know, there's no concrete effort that has been made to solve that problem. I understand that there is a dam that is supposed to be built by Nigeria, so that anytime the Lagdo Dam, the threat of the opening of Lagdo Dam comes up, we open our dam. That dam is supposed to receive the water from Lagdo, not just to to help contain the water, there were other things that dam is supposed to do for Nigeria, aside from mitigating the effect of the flooding that will be coming from the Lado Dam. So, as far as I know, that dam has not been built, and I think we are doing too little to solve the problem of the impact of climate change.
As much as everyone is reacting or sympathizing, as much as everyone is, reacting and sympathizing, I feel like we also need to, put in effort to this. We're going to go on a music break right now, and when we come back, we're going to be discussing community-led initiative for climate action. We have in the studio Dr. Edwin Orugbo, who has been discussing with us. He just reacted to news, and then we're going to be talking on community-led initiative for climate action. Have you had people come to your community? Have you had people, from either international NGOs or, individuals who are passionate about, climate change and all like that? Have you had people, propose these things to your community? Or have we gotten to an extent in your community where you're looking for these people to actually come to, train, others or, carry out actions that could actually help in the community? So let's take a music break. When we come back, we're going to go into the conversation proper.
We inform, we educate, we entertain. We are the people's 105.5 FM, Abuja.
Bang, bang, bang. Baladi, didi. Bangladesh. Coming to you live. To be civilian, no me say we be criminals. Watch this. I do my work legit, be illegal. If you dey share national cake, don't forget the celebrant. For my fatherland, I dey live like immigrant. Yeah, the people dey for one side, SAS dey for one side, X-Men dey for one side, politicians dey for one side. Only God can save us now. No. Only God can save us now. God bless my country, Jaburata. Resources plenty, Jaburata. People get sense plenty, Jaburata. They believe in love, God bless my country, Jaburata. Me, I love my country, Jaburata. People get sense plenty, Jaburata. They believe in love, We dey chop bread with Fanta, but their children they go school for Atlanta. No light every day, we dey use lantern. Baba God, how we want take to solve this matter. The people there for one side, SAS there for one side, politicians there for one side, X-Men there for one side. Only God can save us now. No. Only God can save us now. God bless my country, Jaburata. Resources plenty, Jaburata. People get sense plenty, Jaburata. They believe in love, God bless my country, Jaburata. Me, I love my country, Jaburata. People get sense plenty, Jaburata. They believe in love, The land is green like Ugu. Make them no turn out to be sad.
We inform, we educate, we entertain. We are the people's 105.5 FM, Abuja.
It's still the development report on People's 105.5 FM, and I am Ife Onyekwere. I have in the studio Mr. Edwin Orugbo, who is the Executive Director of Society for Planet and Prosperity, an NGO doing so well for environmental sustainability. And we're discussing the topic before us today, community-led initiatives for climate action. All right, in simple terms, could you just tell us what climate action is. You're an expert. So some people out there might just, we might have been seeing it some places, somewhere, climate action. So tell us what this means and why it's a necessary phase in times as these. You could also chip in, stuff about climate change, what it is and why is it necessary to talk about climate action and why it is necessary for us as individuals and as a country.
Okay, it's a lot, but let me have a go at it. Climate actions are in two folds. Climate actions are either mitigation actions or adaptation actions. Like what happened in Maiduguri, giving them money to buy food or something like that. That's an adaptation action. Any action you will take to help people to cope with the negative impacts of climate change, that's an adaptation action. Then mitigation actions are those actions you take to help to reduce climate change itself. Climate change is caused by what we call global warming. Global warming occurs because industrialization and some other things we do, human beings do, have led to the spewing of harmful gases into the atmosphere. We call those ones greenhouse gases. So the overabundance of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere has caused global warming, which is leading to climate change. So to solve this problem, there are in two folds: mitigation actions and adaptation actions, like I have enumerated before. Now, what community-led initiatives are, they are those things that communities do to play their own part towards tackling the climate change debacle. Every little thing. If you install a solar panel on top of your roof to help generate electricity, that is a community-led initiative already. If you decide to be switching off the bulbs, electrical appliances when they are not in use, that's a community-led initiative.
Amazing.
If you decide, say, okay, my own is to teach people, tell people about climate change. Let them be aware in the first place.
Like what I'm doing, what we're doing.
Yes, that's also a community-led initiative. There are agro-smart practices. So many other things you can do. All of them boil to community-led initiatives to tackle the problem of climate change.
Amazing. Because now you just broke it down. It means, so if I know that I'm not using a particular light bulb, I could just turn it off. I'm also contributing to, so people back home might just be listening to this, because we've had guests who say, they've met some people and they feel like, why are you talking climate change? It doesn't concern me, and how can I really contribute? You know, so what this is actually very enlightening to understand that you listening right there, you also have a part to play, and from the little things we do every day. Amazing. Yes. Okay, so talking about mitigation, adaptation, and let me add policy and advocacy. How can we be part of this? How can we? And can you tell us the urgency, why we need to actually be part of the mitigation process? We need to be part of the, adaptation and policy and advocacy. Why should we concentrate on this thing? Why should we come together as a people? What's the urgency about climate change?
Yeah, you can already see that it's a serious problem.
That's right.
It's a global issue, and they say that Nigeria is among the 10% of countries around the world most affected by
Nigeria.
Yes, our own Nigeria.
We need to take this very seriously.
Yes. In Nigeria here, there are issues like desertification, which is racing from the Sahel towards the south. There is flooding, massive flooding, like you have just seen in Maiduguri.
Exactly.
It happened before 2015 in Lokoja, where the entire town was buried underwater.
Honestly.
So much of it is happening. Climate change brings about health issues, food security, and let me tell you something. These farmers-herders clashes that you hear about, is exacerbated by climate change, because the herders need grass to feed their cattle. Farmers need their crops to sprout so that they can harvest crops, and then when they get to the farms, they eat the crops, and then this is a problem of food security. The farmer gets angry, and then there's a problem between the farmer and the herder. So these clashes are caused by climate change, essentially. And there is another problem. Another problem we call climate refugees. There are people who leave their places in search of greener pastures where they can find water, where they can find grass, where they can live because their own areas have become so arid. It is not sustainable. They cannot live there anymore. They have to move somewhere else. And when they get there, those people say, no, you are a foreigner. You cannot come here. You cannot own this. You cannot do that. You don't have right to do this and that. And then you have further problems in the communities.
Okay, but are there solutions to people who actually live, these arid communities and all like that, to come to probably urban areas, obviously, to, look for a better living and all like that? Are there solutions? Are there things that we can actually do to, reduce the rate at which their migrations from places as such? Because I saw on the internet some days back where a particular African country were creating their own forest by themselves.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is this something that we've started thinking about as a country, or we're still just watching other people do? Can something like this be practiced so that people can, and some other things? Could you tell us if there are possibilities to reduce migration if we start paying attention to some of these activities?
Yes, if the right policies are put in place. You put the right policies in place, then you implement these policies. If you do that, people will find sustainable places to live in within their environments or places they move to. You remember the Land Use Act of 1976 about land ownership and all this. These are some efforts to see that resources are allocated, equitably. Everybody has to find a place for themselves. But that boils down to government policies, the programs and initiatives that government put in place to help people to adapt to the problem of climate change. That was why I said something about adaptation and mitigation. The problem is already here, so we have to adapt. But to reduce the problem, we have to mitigate global warming, which causes climate change. So it boils down to government initiatives to solve those problems.
But talking about governments, I wanted to talk about this towards the end of the show. But then talking about this, in Nigeria, I believe we have policies already, right? And over time, this program has made us to understand that there is a gap in knowledge, or there is a gap at which policies are being made, and then the people who are to carry it out, or the people who, the day-to-day people, not even people like you and I who understand, because it was, from my guests, I understood that, you need to segregate your waste. Once you have plastic waste, you keep it here and all like that, right? Now, so how do we communicate this? Because there are these policies, like, I've had someone from the government space come here, and then he was mentioning so many policies, and I was like, wow, so we really have all this in place. So, like, what can we do to ensure that this can be communicated effectively to the grassroots, so we can practice these things, not just saying it? Now, you said we are 10, number 10, worstly affected. This is really urgent than I actually thought, right? So, how can we, make sure that this is communicated effectively, so people in the grassroots can really feel this?
Yes, it's about awareness. We have to create awareness. Like what you're doing now, this program is very, very critical. It's key to getting people to become aware of the problems of climate change and what they can do individually. For example, my organization, Society for Planet and Prosperity, we've proposed a program where we will go to the NYSC camp in Kubwa to teach the youth corpers, the new ones that are coming, to teach them about climate change, make them aware so that they can take the message out there. This kind of program can include tree planting initiatives.
That's right.
So that wherever they go, they tell the people, don't cut down the trees, rather plant some of them. There's what we call agroforestry. Tell farmers to plant trees alongside the crops that they plant. You don't need to cut down the trees. You can plant crops in between the trees. This kind of initiatives will help people to know about climate change. And government also has to initiate something like a curriculum in the schools.
You understand,
the young
because
ones
times have changed. Exactly.
Yes, let them know. What they teach the students these days, I'm appalled. They are not at par with what other people teach out there around the world. We're still dealing with outdated curriculum.
Right.
Yes, we should bring climate change. We should scale it up. The awareness of it has to be taken to the households, radio programs, community-led initiative, awareness
right.
initiatives and all that. That will really get people to know that this flooding you see is not normal. During the dry season, the kind of heat that we experience in the houses is not normal. The wind, when the rain falls these days, the way the thunder is clapping, the kind of wind you see, it has not been so. There is a changing climate, and this is affecting our socio-economic activities on a daily basis. And something has to be done. This is really something we should communicate far and wide around the country.
Amazing. If you're listening to us, we're actually discussing climate-led, community-led initiative for climate action, and you can send in your messages, your contributions on WhatsApp via 0911 112 1055. You can send in your messages on WhatsApp to that number. All right. Talking about this, I want us to talk about how we got to a point where we realized that we really have to come together as a community to tackle climate action, right? What were the things that we began to see as a country that, people now realize that we have to come together? This is not something where, there's a part in the SDG that talks about partnership. And I feel like organizations like yours and, what we're doing right now, this is, part. So how did we come to a place where we feel like, we need to come together as a people to actually achieve so much together?
Okay, the problem of climate change didn't start from Africa. Africa didn't cause this huge problem that we have on our hands today.
That's right.
It was the global West that started it, especially during the era of industrialization, when they discovered crude oil and the mechanization of production processes started, and then this use of crude oil for energy, for cars, to run in our cars and machines like that. This really caused so much carbon dioxide to be spewed into the atmosphere. So they started the problem.
We started copying.
They started the problem. But you see, because we have less capability to adapt, we feel it more. They started the problem, they made so much money, they developed their areas, they built drainages and systems, their infrastructure, strong infrastructure that can withstand the impact of climate change. They built all that in the West. I've been to Paris, I've seen what they built there, but we don't have all that. So that's why we feel it the more. Now, the good thing is it was also the West that made us to know that this problem is here and we need to do something about it. Good, they brought it to us. So there is a global action to tackle climate change, a global agenda starting from the UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. That bettered the Paris Agreement, which everybody signed, and then they said, what can we do? Each person, each country, what can you do to help to mitigate this problem of climate change? So Nigeria said, we call it the NDCs, Nationally Determined Contributions. I will reduce my greenhouse gas emissions by so amount by so time. So that is the first thing we decided to do about mitigation. So that NDC document is on, but there is an issue with the implementation. Implementing the plans in the various sectors will cost a lot of money. So the developing nations, again, during the COPs, they have COP 1, COP 2, up to COP 20 something. The next one is COP 29. They went there to say, look, guys, we need money. We didn't cause this problem. You caused it. So for us not to continue to use our fossil fuel resources to develop, you need to support us with money so that we can grow our economy in a green way. We call it a green development.
That's
we can
right.
develop in a way that is eco-friendly. The funds that the West promised subsequently have not been coming like that. Let me see how I look at language. Have not been coming like that. So we are still on it, but this is where we are. We know that the problem is here. Nigeria has developed Climate Change Act 2021. There is the long-term emissions, long-term low emissions development strategy. We have submitted our own. We have various energy transition plan and so many other policies that they have put in place to help to arrest this problem. So I would say that Nigeria is doing something towards achieving climate action.
Okay, I have a question here for you. The question here is, okay, if we have to meet up with a reasonable percentage of meeting the SDGs by 2030, what should we be focusing on in the SDGs? Yeah, so this person is asking if we have to meet up with a reasonable percentage in, the 2030 goal, like what should we be focusing in as a country? What should be the most critical things to focus on?
I would say we should allocate resources. It's about resource allocation. The funds are not everywhere. We have just that much to allocate. I think we should allocate resources to agriculture, mitigation of climate change, alternative renewable energy development. I think these are the areas we should focus on if we really want to make impact in the SDGs, because if you focus on these areas, then you will have what we call cascading effects to other areas. Yes, to affect your health, your education and all that, to now affect them positively. I think we should focus on those three if we want to make impact.
Amazing. Yeah. All right. Talking about everything you've said, I want us to see the practicality of, even taking down climate actions, to communities. Have there ever been a time where you as an organization, you get into a community, but the response, have not really been, was not really, impressive as it should be, bearing the urgency of this? Have there ever been a time as that?
Yeah. We had that. It was not a climate activity per se that we went for. I remember we went to clean the Jabi Lake. Society for Planet and Prosperity. We went to the Jabi Lake. We saw that the place was filthy. Plastic bottles in their millions, and we decided to conduct a cleanup of the lake. And then we went there. We told the community before we are coming to do this program here. They said it's okay. On the day of the cleanup, February 6th.
I can't wait to hear what happened.
6th of February 2021. When we got there with the crowd, we bought all the, that time we had face masks.
Face masks, yeah.
Bought face masks for everybody. We bought pickers. We spent a lot of money to get this program underway. Then the people came, they said, you have to settle us.
Wow.
We were surprised.
I was waiting for that.
We are here to clean this field that you make here, and we should settle you. It was a big argument. Eventually, we did something I don't want to mention, but we did something just to make sure that we went ahead.
It was unexpected. Oh my God.
That happens in Nigeria, unfortunately.
Wow. Okay, so I wanted to talk to the audience right there, because someone might be listening to this, or because of the urgency, and those who have seen that, we're part of the number 10 in the most affected. When they reject activities like this, what is the implication for them as a people in that community? Because they might not even know. The normal Nigerian, actually, I had that. I was suspecting that, you have to pay us to do this, right? Yeah. But then when we reject climate action in our communities, what are we programming the community to actually, face in the future, or what will be going on wrong in that society?
Yes, when you refuse or fail to support a particular climate action, then you are supporting a further heating up of the atmosphere. Then you are supporting a situation where there will be further conflicts. You are making it impossible for the government and those who have the know-how to solve the problem of desertification, the problem of food insecurity, high prices of food, conflict between herders and farmers. You're making all these problems to get worse, because this is the solution that we propose, and we are trying to do something, and you don't want us to be able to do it. Then you're just exacerbating the problem. That's what it is.
Wow. I was actually thinking, can we ever get to the point where communities themselves begin to call or begin to ask for, people who are experts in these things, come in and, help us, can we ever get to that point? And what do you think has to be in place for people to now see the urgency of this and start calling in by themselves? You remember there was, I don't know if it's still being done in Lagos, but I know that when we were growing, there were times when there was environmental sanitation. Everyone knew the impact, everywhere has to be clean. Yeah. If it's not clean, mosquitoes can breed on this water here and all like that. And it was a thing, and everyone was doing it religiously. Even it got to a point where even people who do not know the importance were doing it just so that they could follow in that religious activities. What do you think we can do to now make people, follow this? They begin to call for the attention. Imagine communities begin to call for the attention of government, begin to call for the attention of NGO. We need you, we've not seen you. How can we not be carrying out climate action for 6 months and all like that? How do we get to this point?
Yeah, it's quite simple, but not quite simple. Yeah, because first of all, you have to know the problem. You have to know the problem. Knowing the problem is halfway towards solving the problem.
That's right.
Many people are affected by the negative impact of climate change, but they don't even know it. Increase in malaria, the cases of malaria infection, for instance, is tied back to climate change. There are so many effects, but if they don't know, how would they know what to do or to call for help? So it comes back to awareness campaigns.
That's right.
Massive climate education, massive awareness campaigns. Take it down to the people, to the villages. Let them know. You see this problem, this low crop yield you are having is because of reduced rainfall or too much rainfall, variability in precipitation. Right. You need to do X, Y, Z to be able to solve this problem. You see this thing that is happening here, it's because of ABC, and it's called climate change. That is the driver overall. And to solve that problem, you have to do X, Y, Z. If you don't tell them, they will not know. So the solution is still about climate awareness. Let them know what the climate change is, what caused it, what we can do, and how it is affecting them. I think they will follow when you get to that point.
Yeah, thank you. Can you just briefly give one word to people who, youth out there, on interest or gaining interest into things about climate change and the opportunities that, is in for them in that field, especially because you mentioned our curriculum and, some things might just be off, but how do you encourage them to come into a space like this, and what are the possibilities, opportunities there for them?
Okay. The opportunities in the climate space, they are endless. It's not just about the climate space, it's about environment altogether. Environmental impact assessment is a big employer, an area where people are employed heavily, and there are what we call green jobs that come off the climate initiatives, the climate projects that are set up, whether they want to install solar panels in a massive manner. You need technicians, you need laborers, you need factories to even produce the panels for a start. You need to those who produce batteries, who do servicing, along the value chain. That's just panels. Climate smart agriculture. This is one area again. You get bountiful agricultural yields if you get climate intelligent, and you need people to pass on these messages. You can become a consultant. You can. There are so many things you can do.
Amazing.
And I would like to advise them to take up climate science. It's very important. It's something that is affecting us, and it's the trending issue worldwide. Even America, they use it as part of their campaign. They talk about climate change. So.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, we have to call it a wrap here, and it was actually great having a conversation with Society for Planet and Prosperity. All right, it was actually great having you in the studio here, but we have to call it a wrap here because of our time. And thank